today to welcome Mark Thompson and Steve Little to my little show here on the internet. And today it is going to be talking about AI and family history or genealogy, depending on your preference, of what you call yourself. Mark and Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. We are so happy to be here.
I am glad that you are here too. So I love it is RootsTech season. I think of it as a season, as we all get ramped up for the big event. And you guys are delivering a lot of talks on AI at RootsTech. Some will be streamed. I think most of them will be streamed, so people will be able to catch the recordings, or see them live. And I thought we'd give people like a sneak peek or a preview by having a conversation around what are the big changes in AI as it pertains to family historians and genealogists from 2024 to 2025.
If I was going to try to identify the biggest changes between late winter 2024 and late winter 2025, last year when we were using AI to help with genealogy, it was as if you had a 12-year-old helping you, and you could give them a little task and they could stay focused on the task for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then the bright shiny object would distract them and they could, get a little bit of information done. These tools have gotten a lot smarter in the past year. And so what we're able to do with these tools, it's as if you have a 22-year-old graduate student intern with you. So in 12 months, these have grown in intelligence. It feels like about 10 years. And just so the sheer amount of stuff that we can do with these tools is more now. Plus, there's a whole lot more people experimenting and playing with these. None of these tools come with an owner's manual or a user's guide, so it is very much citizen scientists discovering how to use these tools. And friends and colleagues are making discoveries and have learned how to do new things over the past year.
Yeah, we're kind of in the messy middle right now, I think. Yeah. A year ago, it was like really cutting edge, bleeding edge, actually. It was bleeding edge stuff. Everybody who took it, all everybody talked about a year ago or 18 months ago was all of the things went wrong when they tried to use AI to do the thing, right? And we have come a million miles in a year. There are a half a dozen things now that I don't do any other way, because when I use the right tool for the right job in my genealogy workflow, it works amazingly well, faster than I can do it myself. I do my cleanup, I do my confirmation, and I carry on, which is great. But the reason why I think we're in the messy middle right now is that everybody's experimenting. All of the people are making these tools. A year ago, 14 months ago, there was like 2 or 3 tools. That was it. And you learned how to use them to do the thing, and learned how not to use them to not do the wrong thing. Now there's like 40, right? And even if you're discerning, there's about 10 that do amazing things. And so it's really messy right now because there's so many tools and so many possibilities, and everybody's experimenting with stuff, which is exciting, right? It's like we're kind of like all out of the mountain, looking out across the plain. And what I think is going to happen over the next year is we're going to see the cleanup and the consolidation. The little companies are going to either go to, like, they came up with great ideas. They're either going to go on a business because they didn't have a business model. They had just a product, right? They're going to get bought. They're going to, or their great idea is going to get built into another tool. Like it's kind of the geek zone right now. And I'm looking forward to when the product managers figure this out and make it easier for the regular humans to be able to use, because it's really complicated. Right? Like you got to get into it to get the most out of it right now.
It really is the geek zone. Like you need all this education around, I mean, what is it that you're dealing with here? How does it operate? And then within each tool, there's all these levels, right? Of like how you can use it. They build in all these.
Go to that little roll down now, the large language model selector that wasn't there. Like 2 years ago, there was like 2 models there, right? It was the old one and the new one. Right now, there's like 40, 01, 01 Pro, 01 Pro with special sauce with the extra super hot sauce. Like there's like all of this stuff, and they're all kind of relevant, but half of them are experiments, right? Some of them are features, some of them are models, some of them are completely different kinds of models. Like it's just kind of messy. But on the other hand, it's fun to experiment, which is kind of like we call it the geek zone, but it's the leading edge. It's really like it's an enthusiast's time. But at least now the tools are so much better that if you just take the defaults, like anybody who's just coming into this new now, If you just do the thing that the tool is designed to do and you don't touch any of the extra gizmos, it works. Like it's amazing. It works. But there's
Yeah.
so much other stuff going on underneath the hood right now. It seems like it's impossible to get in. There's actually never been a better time because the price is going down, the
Yeah.
features are going up, they're getting easier to use every day. And our prediction is they're only going to get easier to use over the next 6 to 12 months.
Strong agreed. Mark and I agree on lots of stuff, almost most everything. I would beg to differ a little bit about whether we've got another year of explosion and proliferation or whether the consolidation starts yet. I think we may see both. There may be some consolidations at the big corporate level, but what I don't think that matters to mom and dad genealogists too much. We're going to see an explosion of tools, the different ways people can use AI. What the big news this past month was the model out of China that upset everything, and how that's destabilized things is it's made things more available less expensively. And so now it's going to be cheap and easy everyday users to make their own tools. And that's hard for folks to wrap their minds around at this point. But over the next year, here's what you're going to notice. You're going to notice 20 new people asking for $5 a month. They're all going to want to sell you an AI whiz bang tool. And some of them will genuinely be real whiz bang tools. We're going to see a proliferation of little, what I call unitaskers, AI tools that do one or two things really, really well. And for some folks, that'll be compelling. I do not find that compelling. I do not want to pay 7 different people $5 a month to do 7 things. That's
Right.
$35 to do 7 things. Instead, I'd rather pay one company $20 and be able to do 100 or 1,000 different things. And with a little bit of education, you can, and that $20 a month subscription or even free, you're not going to have to pay the $5 or $10 a month subscription for a unitasker. People, everyday folks are going to be able to learn how to use these tools just by speaking plain English to their computers. And that's still for the folks over 2 years now who've been doing it, we've gotten used to it. It's still a new skill for a lot of folks, just communicating to their computers in natural language.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to is those medium to large size genealogy companies are going to like the type of companies that we're going to see at RootsTech, right? That are, the big corners on the show floor. The cost of implementing artificial intelligence is going low enough that they're going to be building us tools that matter to our genealogy, that use their information securely. It's getting cheap enough. There's enough developers out there who are capable of using these tools. There's enough product managers who are comfortable recommending to their bosses that they should try to use these tools because people like us are actually using them to do real work. And like the kind of the fear factor is going down. And now we're going to get on with it. Like look at Family Search, free text search. They don't market it as the big amazing AI tool, right? They market it as a way to do free text search of records. Like
Right. Right.
there's like underneath the duck's feet are just paddling like nuts, right? Doing amazing AI and machine learning things, and like great tool design, really good concept for a product that matters to genealogists, implemented in a way that is easy for genealogists to use, and all of the noise and the complexity is just they just bury it, right? That's the kind of thing now that things like Deep Search and a whole bunch of other great companies that have come up with ideas for really, really cost-effective implementations of AI in a year or two. I'm really fingers crossed we're going to see more great products like Family Search, Free Text Search that are built into these tools, access the information that we want in a way that has never been possible for the last 1,000 years.
The metaphor I'd like, Mark used the ducks and the feet under the water
Yeah.
pedaling like crazy. It looks calm on top and busy underneath. The other aquatic metaphor is icebergs. 10% above the water and 90% below the water. A lot of this AI stuff is going to happen behind the scenes, and big companies may or may not even advertise or mention it. Right now,
Well,
AI's got a little bit of cachet, but it very well could you feel pushback starting already, and you could get a stink on, nobody wants AI inside. That could happen. We'll see.
Well, the excitement
So,
about
oh,
the excitement about free text search last year, because they announced it at RootsTech last year. They went to RootsTech with 3 record sets that were free
mhm,
text searchable, and the world went nuts because it was amazing. Right? I looked last night. I looked at all of the records that they've added over the course of the last year to free text search. There are now over 3,000 record sets on free text search, and they added more
fantastic.
records. They
Yeah.
added more records last month than they did last year. So like this stuff builds on itself, right? And so we're in the messy middle. Like the things are going so fast right now, it's hard to keep up with what's out there. But there's really good people doing really good work that are making it easier for genealogists to use these tools. Sometimes a little bit of the geeky way, and sometimes just buried into the way that the genealogist wants to use that tool, and they don't worry about how it's implemented. And like
Yeah.
that's where we're going to get eventually. It's just going to be just another tool, right? Word processors and spreadsheets were like 40 years ago. They changed the world, right? Like think about where we were, how accountants did their jobs 40 years ago, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to imagine, right? And now we use spreadsheets to do things that people track their recipes in spreadsheets. It's not a $500 product anymore; it's free, right? And so you
Yeah.
change the things that you do with it when the price point goes down. As these tools get easier and easier to use and they get cheaper and cheaper to use, more people will use them in more places for good people to do good work.
So I'm going to jump in here because you guys are making so many good points, and you went. We did the history, like where we come from. You gave me some predictions on where we're going. If somebody listening to this or watching this is like in a panic, like I don't even know where to start with these things, I think one of entry point is your family history AI podcasts. Where people can just listen while they're walking or washing the dishes or driving the car, running errands about the latest in AI. And don't worry, there's no quiz at the end of the show if you don't catch all the details. Just listen lots of times till you get used to the lingo and the terms used and things like that. So that's my recommendation is one, your podcast. I'm going to give a plug for that. But the other is with Roots Tech, we have the opportunity for people to kind of jump into AI maybe and learn some things. So what do you have a session that you recommend, or do you have a thing they should do like before Roots Tech or during Roots Tech, a tool they should try? Like what's your prescription for people who are AI curious?
AI curious, Roots Tech this year is going to be a great week.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of opportunities all along the spectrum, from the very beginners to learning about some more advanced stuff. Mark, do you want to tell them what you'll be doing, and then maybe what we're doing together?
Yeah, sure. So I'm doing 2 sessions. Like we've been just talking about. I really like let's use these tools for things that matter for the things that we do, not technology for technology's sake. And
Mm.
so one of the sessions I'm going to teach is how to use artificial intelligence to research your letters and documents, which I do a bunch of. I consider myself as much a family archivist as a family historian. If you could only see the corners of my house where all of the boxes and the binders are stacked with all of the stuff that I've inherited from previous generations. So I look at letters and documents a ton. And I've come up with a bunch of great ways to be able to use AI to support me in that work. It makes me go faster, and I get more out of it, and I enjoy the process. So I'm going to be teaching how to use AI for letters and documents research and management. And the other one is I like to learn new stuff every day. It's like one of the reasons why I love genealogy. I like getting up every morning and go, what do I want to learn today in order to do what I want to do? And so that's actually one of the sessions is going to be about how to use artificial intelligence to help you learn more easily. Because there's so many things to learn in genealogy. And every one of us is good at something, but boy, we all know another 100 people who are way better at the other thing. AI it can be a real assistant with that. So that's one of the sessions I'm going to talk about is how to use it to learn.
Excellent. I'm excited now. I'll be there. I'll be there. And Steve, you want to give a quick preview of your sessions?
Sure. I'll be doing sessions on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday's session is kind of a longer discussion of kind of what we've done this morning during this talk, what's happened the past 2 years, where we are today, and where we might go in the next 2 years. So Thursday's talk is very much a 35,000 foot orientation for folks maybe just getting started, what all of this is about, where it fits in the wider scheme of things, what we could do 2 years ago versus what we can do today really gives folks a sense of how rapidly these tools are growing in intelligence and how much more the smarter they get, the more useful they become. And so that little bit of a survey of how much things have changed in 2 years allows us to, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And
Mhm.
so we can see a little bit of where things are going by looking at where we've been. So that's Thursday, a high level overview and a few demonstrations of what it can do. Friday is getting started, how we do the basics, how you can use AI, how you get started with it, and some of the more simple things that you can do. That'll be on Friday. And then on Saturday, I'm teaching more of an intermediate class on how you can make your own tools. If there's specific tasks that you spend time doing each week, and you suspect that it might be a task that artificial intelligence could help you do better and more quickly, often you can pack that up into, if we were, what year were we using WordPerfect 5 when we all had macros and we had macros that, yeah.
1990.
So it's kind of like imagining what a super intelligent macro would be. If you just have some tasks that you say to the computer, save me 20 or 30 minutes. You know what we're doing here. Now do this. We show people how to build those tools. And then Mark and I are joining some colleagues on Friday evening for a panel discussion. One of the most significant things that I've done, and I might speak for Mark, we've been involved with folks across the whole genealogical and family history community, trying to figure out how to use these tools responsibly. Because usually the first thing people learn about these tools is that they're not perfect, that they make mistakes, that there's even crazy words like hallucinations to describe their end product, which does not inspire confidence. So knowing how to use these tools responsibly is actually a big deal. And we spent a lot of time this year meeting with about 2 dozen experts in the field, much better genealogists than me, much better ethicists than me, but we had an opportunity to explain to people at the highest level of genealogy and ethics how these tools worked, what they could and couldn't do, and if they wanted to articulate guidelines and principles, how we could help them say that in a way that makes sense, understanding what the tools can and can't do. And so we're glad Friday night to be presenting these 5 guidelines, these principles.
Yeah, these tools fundamentally they work so differently than the tools that we grew up on. I mean, WordPerfect jokes aside, for the last 40 years, we've learned this simple idea that if I click this button, that thing happens, right? And if I click the same button again tomorrow, the same thing will happen. That's essentially the way that these tools work. And
Right.
and we've been trained, whether we knew it or not, we've been trained to expect same input equals same output. And that's the whole idea. And the way that large language models and artificial intelligence works fundamentally is different. They do not work that way. They are designed not to work that way. It is a
Creative.
feature, not a
They're
bug.
creative.
They
They
are
can be.
creative. So we need to learn how to use these tools in different ways. And genealogists love predictability and they love traceability and they love, analysis. And so gotta, it's been really exciting to help map that journey with a whole bunch of really, really smart members of the genealogy community to go, what's the right way to use these? What's the responsible way to use these? And how can we learn how to do that, right? And so it's going to be a really fun panel.
I think that sounds great. I think people are there's a lot of concern out on the genealogy social media about the use of these tools and, how they're being used, who's using them, what the impacts are, can we trust them? There's a lot of those
Mhm.
questions. So I think any discussion that we have around that is always helpful for people to sort of process what's going on. Because it is a huge amount of change. Like no one asked for artificial intelligence to be available, and all of a sudden it felt like it was kind of thrust upon us, and maybe that I mean, we didn't have to pick it up and do anything about it, but a lot of us did. We picked it up and we're like, oh, could I use this to make my life easier or to do a higher quality level of work or do it faster or whatever the question was, and it does work for that. So, I mean,
I am
I enjoy working with AI, and, and I understand when people are upset. I respect that too. I'm
I
not
am
here to
reminded of.
I'm not here
Oh
to
yeah.
sell anything to anybody.
No.
I don't make anything. I don't make anything on the back end, for
If,
advocating.
if only. Yeah, yeah. I'm reminded of the early days of the internet, right? And,
Yeah.
and I was there. I was a dot-com kid.
Yeah, same,
I was working
same.
in academia at the time at which the internet was rolling out through across the universities. And I remember like the day that I saw my first text-based web page inside a telnet session. Like I remember that, like there's no
Links.
graphics, there's no nothing. It was just
We use
words,
links.
right? Right? Exactly. Links, exactly. And I remember thinking, the world just changed. The world just changed. And I
Mhm.
tried to, I felt a little bit Cassandra-ish, right? I mean, I'm trying to go, this is amazing. It's going to change everything. And everybody said, well, it's kind of hard to read and it's kind of slow and it's kind of stupid. And like everybody who's writing stuff is making mistakes. And I'm going, you don't get it. And we're kind of in the same place. Like it's
Yeah.
not perfect yet. Everybody's working on new ideas, but it's a new way of interacting with information. And that's a lot of the way, that's a lot of what you can say the internet in general or the World Wide Web specifically is a tool, but it's a new way of interacting with information and right tool for the right job. If we find the right jobs and we map it to the right tool, you do amazing things with it. But if you take a screwdriver and you try to nail in a nail with the round end, you will not do a good job and you'll make a mess of your work, right? So if we can map this out and come up with find the right jobs, connect them with the right tools, we'll do great work.
It's a great thought. I just
Yeah,
completely agree with it. So I think we're gonna keep this conversation short because the three of us could sit down and talk for like hours.
and
Just
we have.
anyone listen, and we have. So, but for anyone watching or listening to this, just please, attend the sessions at Roots Tech, whether you use AI or you don't use AI. Let the information wash over you about, how it could be used, and think about how it could be applied to your life to have you have the best genealogy and family history that you can do. That's all. That's my whole if I have a sick, it's, I care that you have the family history that you want to have and you have it documented in the way you want to document it and you have something to pass on. And if AI helps you do it, thumbs up.
All the better.
I'm 100% behind it. And if AI, you don't think AI can help you, that's totally fine. Thank you again, Steve Little and Mark Thompson, for being here with me. How can people follow up with you or stay in contact with
The easiest way is to follow us on our podcast. The podcast is called the Family History AI Show. We do somewhere between a weekly and bi-weekly podcast, depending upon the week. But we regularly post our podcast on the Family History AI Show. And you can find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. The other thing that we're doing after RootsTech that's worth checking out if you're going to be in the San Diego area, either in person or virtually, is we are doing a day-long seminar in person in San Diego at this year's Institute for Genetic Genealogy, hosted by CC Moore. Her conference is on the Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to be running an AI seminar the day before at the same venue on the Friday.
Awesome. You picked a good location. Sunny weather. Sunny weather.
Sunny weather,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
sunny
Exactly.
weather. All right. Well, thank you again, guys, and I will see you at Roots Tech.
Thanks for having us.